Simmer down, simmer down, simmer down. So have we all recovered? Have we got a little rest? Getting better. I was a little concerned on our last meeting. People didn't know where they were. I get it, you know. I will give you back your quizzes for the people who left me little notes. Thank you. I needed a little chuckle. Someone wrote, I don't know any of these, but I'm here. I was like, this is awesome. Get a point for that. You know, I want to encourage y'all because when I was in third year, I really wanted to quit because I was just beyond exhausted. You're not the only one. No. Between surgery dogs and clinics are going to start next week. Was that time?
We also have 3 teams.
So just know that we've all been there, and you all will make it. You just have to just keep going. And crying when needed, and screaming when needed, and it's yes. Ask Dr. Hubbard. I said, I'm going home. I don't need none of this. I don't see another dog, cat, rat, pig. Look where I am now. Go figure. All right, so we are going to continue the viral diseases associated with our pet birds. This next one, if you do small animal practice and you do birds, you probably will get a few cases, and it is called avian pox. And so we know pox in general can be seen in multiple species. What is the only animal, well, one of the few animals that don't get pox infection? I've never heard of equine pox. That's a good. Cows do get pox. So what's the cow pox called? Cowpox. What other species? What do goats get? Or, so that is a pox virus. Oh, very good. So canines typically don't. Feline don't get too much pox virus. But we do see pox in our avian species, not just pet birds, but in general. But in terms of practice, more likely, here we go with the green screen. It's like a game. All right. It's one of those mosquito-borne diseases that we see during the rainy season. So during the summer as we go towards the end of the year. And so what would they look like? So pox in general usually presents with raised nodular masses. They're usually crusty in appearance. They're typically on the unfeathered areas. So we're talking about your face, maybe the legs, sort of near the beak area. You don't see them where the birds would have feathers. And that's typically because the mosquito bites the animals in those particular areas. Mortality is low, and it's usually self-limiting, meaning that the disease can run its course through the animal, and they usually are fine afterwards. There's a diphtheritic or wet form, which is not the most common, but it can occur in with the cutaneous form, where you have lesions occurring within the intestinal organs, respiratory system. You may see it affecting the conjunctiva, and mortality is often high because it's going to affect organ function. So the first form is the common form, which is the one you see affecting primarily the skin, and then the wet form is the one that affects internal organs, and you can see mucous membranes, and that sort of thing. So we talked about lesions. They're usually within various organs, depending on the area. We do see inclusions, and these are your eosinophilic intracytoplasmic inclusion lines. So let's see if we can remember from last year. We talked about pox last year in pathology. What are the 2 things we say are commonly occur with pox infection? What's the one? We just talked about one. Inclusion bodies. What else? What happens to the cellular structure? So we have ballooning of cells. I know you all remember that because I taught that last year. But it's okay. So you have cellular ballooning and intracytoplasmic inclusion bodies, and those are called Bollinger bodies. So Bollinger bodies are just a term used for those specific inclusions. Now, this disease, as I said, is self-limiting, but it is dependent on where the animal is affected. So if you have multiple nodules around the eyes, they're going to have issues with vision. Around the mouth, they can't eat, so they can eventually die from this illness. So this is an H&E section showing you the inclusions, and as you can see, we have expansion or swelling of the cellular structures of the cells. So this is a section of skin, epithelial, and just pointing out the inclusions. So these are birds with avian pox. So as you can see in this guy right here, is a curlew. You have a raised nodule. This one's a little reddened and ulcerated, so you may have some secondary bacterial infection. And on the leg, we have this raised nodule as well. It's the speakers. Okay. All right, the other lesion we have here is in another bird with avian pox, and as you can see, it's pretty much covering the eyes. So again, these birds are ones that have to be fearful of being eaten by larger birds, especially this one. So if he's blind or he can't eat, most likely he's not going to make it. This is a pretty severe case of avian pox. Both eyes are covered with this disease. Yes, sir. The diphtheritic or wet form, yes. Video's not good. So the video was of a bird with avian pox. And I'll just see what happened. Oh, what did I do? I did something. I don't know what I did. Keep going. Karen, mess me up, girl. I got to start all over. Y'all, please. Karen, for you. I don't know what to do. I thought I had two. I did agree with you. It's not like I'm mindlessly doing. I don't know what's happening here. All right, pet birds, pet birds, pet birds. All right, here we go. All right. So this is a bird with the wet form of pox. And so as you can see, when we do necropsy next few weeks, we're looking at the esophageal area. This is the trachea. And the lesions are raised white nodules. And there are 4 diseases, well 3 or 4, that can give you a similar appearance. Can anybody think of one? Very good. Trichomonas gallinae, also known as what?
Yeah. What? Ringworm?
Yes, Brenda, were you waving or? Oh, okay. So I think it's also known as canker, but we'll talk a little bit about this later. Very good. Next answer, you said it. Candida albicans also gives you white raised nodules within the esophageal region. Anything else? Vitamin A. Don't be so proud. Yes. Vitamin A what? Deficiency. Very good. And then avian pox is the 4th. So all 4 diseases will give you a similar appearance. So how would you differentiate one from the other? I love all the answers. So I got biopsy, and then you look for inclusions, okay? Culture, very good. What about trichomonas? How would you diagnose that? It's a protozoa, yes. So, fecal swab, yes. But you'll do a swab and look at it microscopically and you'll see the organisms. No, we're so ready to be in the hospital.
No.
Some of these non-specific lesions you can see in these birds include pancreatitis and hepatomegaly, but as we talked earlier, there are multiple other diseases that can give you enlargement of the liver. So I put that on there to say that is a possibility, but that is not a primary lesion. When you're studying this for this class, primary lesions, not obscure things that rarely occur, but what is the primary lesion? So for this disease, what are two primary lesions? The raised nodules in the esophagus, and what about the skin? Right, unfeathered areas, little crusty nodules. That is a primary, okay? Great. So diagnostics, we just said all of them. We can do virus isolation, EM if you have issues with your isolation, but usually that's not a problem. It's not that hard to diagnose. Differentials, we talked about them. A mnemonic is PAT-C. So P is for pox, A is for vitamin A deficiency, T is for Trichomonas gallinaриum, and C is Candida albicans. Did Dr. Byrne tell you about the song? I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss, who's going to sing Candida?
Oh yeah, do this.
And do the funky chicken. No one else. All right, any questions about pox? Nope? Okay. The next one is avian influenza. And this is a disease that's highly important. We've seen cases in in the Alabama region off and on, and so it's important to be mindful of that. At the beginning of next semester, you guys will have to do an online course. I know, extra work. The what? For the health certificates, yes. And so one of the things that it will emphasize is the signs you see with avian influenza and how you're going to be diagnosing that. But we'll worry about that next semester. It's an easy process. So the etiologies, it's an orthomyxovirus type A. H5 and H7, it's important to know the strain that are most pathogenic in birds. There is a zoonotic potential to this disease because of the constant mutation. So it's one of those important diseases that you should be aware of. Clinical signs are respiratory in nature, so we have sneezing, ocular nasal discharge, dyspnea, swollen sinuses. Decreased egg production, that's more for our chickens, and that is non-specific, meaning that anytime a bird is sick, she's not going to produce eggs, or her egg numbers are going to decrease. Edema of the head and neck, very important. So I should have this in green. Also, we see cyanotic wattles and combs. So which one is the wattle? The neck one. And where's the comb? Hey, so you comb your hair, and when you get older, you have wattles in your hair. I won't, but some of you may. But I'm fabulous at 95. Anyway, transmission is predominantly via inhalation. So birds that are housed in the same area, it's gonna spread like crazy. And the reason I put this little picture on there, so what happens to these birds? If one is infected, what's going to happen to the rest of them? They all are going to be culled. We call that all or none. So all come in, all go out at the same time. If you're coming in and one of your friends is sick, all of you are going out another way in terms of being culled. So avian influenza has been spread by migratory waterfowl. So what are migratory waterfowl? Geese and ducks. So they're associated with our, especially for chickens, they can pass the disease to those, and they're asymptomatic carriers, meaning that they're not affected by this disease. So with the lesions, it can vary from you see nothing to sinusitis, splenomegaly, enlargement of the spleen, and those sort of things. Again, this is a virus, so we're going to have virus isolation as the predominant way that you do that. We will be practicing, bless you, cloacal swabs when we do our necropsy. So we use a little swab, and if we have some old swabs, we'll use it to just make sure you know how to do that. This is a gross image of a bird with avian influenza, and this is looking at the trachea. And so what lesion are we looking at here? Oh, excuse me. Yes, ma'am. It is a diphtheritic membrane. Yes, yes, yes. So what is a diphtheritic membrane? What does it contain? You're so excited. I love it. It's purulent, not necessarily purulent. It consists of fibrin, necrotic debris, might have some neutrophils squeezed in there, blood, and it's lining the mucosal surface. And so what's going on with the mucosa? It's very good. So we have mucosal ulceration and loss, and so the body is very good at covering up areas that are exposed. So we don't have a mucosal lining, so you get that diphtheritic membrane lining the trachea. So take you back to pathology 101. And this is the pancreas. That's another lesion we see with avian influenza. So what organ, part of the GI tract is this? Duodenum. And this is the pancreas right here. So this is a more normal aspect. And then when you see redness and swelling of the pancreas, you know that we have inflammation and changes associated with it. This is showing you a bird with an ocular discharge. I don't know what's up with these people with no gloves. I just don't understand that. But that's a common representative of that disease as well. So this is the key thing to remember. So we talked about cyanosis, Waddell's combs. You can also have it of the legs. And as you can see, it has that sort of gangrenous, splotchy gangrenous, I don't want to use that word. But sort of a blue discoloration. So what's the definition of cyanosis? Lack of oxygen. So the virus causes an infection where we are pinching off or causing occlusion of the vascular system. And then we have cyanotic lesions where it looks sort of a blue discoloration of that area. So I write poultry questions for the NAVLE, and that's one of the things I make sure when I write my questions, because it's a significant presentation for that specific disease. So it's important to remember that. We do have a snap test for a, yes sir. I am on, yes, on the NAVLE writing. I'm an item writer. I do pigs, I don't know. And they, yeah. Now, I can't meet you like, in the back corner and give you that question. But I make sure I teach what is important. So you need to encourage more faculty members to try and get on there, then we can have more representation. Okay, so y'all big color. So during the summer, I invited, let me see how best way to put it. There is a group that writes questions, and they teach us how to write questions. So after I went to the training, I learned that I had no idea what I was doing. And so we brought her here to teach faculty how to write NAVLE type questions. Now, that was during the summer. So now, has it translated into this semester? I'm sure it has not quite gotten there. But we will bring her every summer until every question has been, as long as I'm breathing, it's going to change. Because I took the same class as you did. I remember the crazy questions. I'm like, I don't know. There's 2 answers on here. I don't know what you want me to do. Oh, no. But they do teach you that, because not every question you write is going to be put on the exam because it's not a good question. So, but yeah, we're getting better. It's just, it'll take people a while to be like, oh, I don't know, I'm not writing very good questions. But we are trying to provide them with the training. That's what you do with the training, right? All right, so this is sort of a diagrammatic pathogenesis of avian influenza and how they think it may infect people. There's still always a question out there about the transmission. But the important thing to remember that it's our aquatic waterfowl that are responsible for transmitting it to our pet birds or our chickens. All right, so viral diseases, quick review. So we talked about citizen beak and feather disease in last class. Ew. So what is the etiology for citizen beak and feather disease? Sorry, why don't you tell me? Or, like a delicious pizza earlier. I was like, you want to phone a friend? Oh, what did she say? Circovirus, very good. Yes, yes, yes. So what are the primary lesions we see with citizen beak and feather disease? Gavin. You were talking earlier, I want to hear you.
That's when they lose all the feathers and they go bald?
Yes. Again, this is why we're learning this in
I
class.
think I have that disease actually.
Oh. I can't comment on that. That's not good. So what is the treatment of choice for beak and feather disease?